of small areas in Canada where a lot of really cool things grow. And if you're smart, you can go into those foresty areas, get what you need, come out in one piece without getting attacked by a bear, and enjoy your food. And Martin was one of those people to start that. His entire restaurant is built on using wild meat and wild game and foraged items that people bring into him. And it's very, very successful. When I go to Canada, that's going to be one of my, that's where I want to go. I want to be there. And then the last person on my list of people to talk about is going to be Stephen Ritz. I'd spoken earlier about him, and he is a very good friend of mine from the Bronx. He started an idea in an old section of the school where he was teaching, turned it into sort of a chef training class that kind of morphed into a gardening class that kind of morphed into these children really understanding the value of growing your own food and being part of a team and understanding the ramifications of how to build a community. So to date, I think he's got 32 used-to-be children are now adults who are in the horticulture industry at a very high level. So these guys are installing like whole walls of living plants. They're going into different communities and teaching people how to open up a community garden. One of them is a chef. He owns a really great restaurant. His entire roof is all tower gardens. That's the only way he's going to grow and serve his food. So, when you start at the one end with the foraging and trying to figure out, what's out there to collect, and then you get to the point where you have these, these automated machines that will help you grow certain items that if you do find it out there, you can actually reproduce it inside. So then you don't have to go out there and try to kill yourself. But the I guess eventuality of foraging becoming big again is gonna take a little while. Like we talked about. There's the millennials that are coming up. Unfortunately, guys, they're not going away. We made them. We made them. So we're gonna have to deal with them. And a lot of what they want to do is they want to experience. They want to experience life. I mean, I just came back from a Juice Plus conference. 8,000 people. About 2,000 of us are men. There's not many men in this company. It's mostly generated by women and their need to want to help other women get healthier. So with that, Juice Plus and the Tower Garden has really brought in the positives of what the millennials can bring us. And for them, the experience is what they want, and that's what they bring to us. So for me, it's like exposing them to different things. I expose my kids to anything and everything that I understand, even some of the things I don't understand, like Bitcoin and all that stuff, which I don't understand it, but I'm intrigued and I want to learn. So, for me, it's almost a need to reach out to younger kids and teach them about foraging and getting them to understand that it could be a fun part of what you do. You like taking pictures on Instagram? Go out and forage. You might find something pretty. Take a picture of it. You never know. It could lead you in a direction that you never thought possible. So, yeah, that's it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Questions?
Yes.
Lots of questions. The Our Little Nursery that's something you own, or that's...
Yeah, we're a small farmers market, and Our Little Nursery is basically our title company, and what we do within the farmers market is we basically teach vendors how to be farmers market vendors. And it's not all glory days and making $1,000 a day at a farmer's market. People don't a lot of folks don't get that. You know, they figure, oh, well, I've got this wonderful product, it should be in King Supers, but where do I start? Oh, I'll go to a farmer's market, crush it, and then someone will find me and want to put my stuff in a store. I'm sorry, it doesn't happen that way. You have to really knock on doors to get your product from the farmer's market to into a brick and mortar kind of place. But because my partner and myself have been chefs for so long, we know all those people. So if there is a product that we actually think is good, we actually call them and say, hey, you should come to the farmer's market, there's a couple people I want you to meet. You might be happy with that product. And some of them have. I mean, we had a woman, she was in Whole Foods. She was in Whole Foods in about 20 stores, and then her husband got sick and she had to pull out. So, you know, it's like for us as a company, we want to be able to generate better vendors, and we also want to have a farmer's market that's going to generate revenue for us at places like O'Toole's. You know, so for us, we find small farms all over town. We know small farms all over the country where we bring in products from outside Colorado, from New Mexico, California, and these are featured items on our table. And they're small businesses, some of them forage for the stuff, some of them don't. But as a company, we just try to nurture those businesses through what we do.
When are you guys out?
What do you mean?
When are you open?
Well, we're at O'Toole's Garden Centers, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesday in Littleton, and then Thursday in Westminster, and that is year round. And then we also are at O'Toole's in Lakewood during the wintertime. And we are also part of a larger organization, which is Metro Denver Farmers Markets, where we bumped into each other. And those guys, they have, it's Aspen Grove, Southwest Plaza, Highlands Ranch Town Center, and also Mile High Church, which is another one of my, I actually manage that market too for them. So the
Are those seasonal or do they go year round?
those guys are seasonal, but this what we do with O'Toole's is always year round and at the hospital, because we feel a need to be able to start generating something like that. Because every time we go to another city, we come across a farmer's market that's been there forever, and they're there every day, and they're there year round, and we don't have that in Colorado yet. You know, there's two places that are actually like that. One of them is on Federal, and it's a marqueta, and most of it is Mexican goods. And the other one is also on Federal, a little further down, and they also have just Mexican stuff. You know, and these places like City Market, which is an amazing place to go and eat and enjoy the day, it's not a true market in my sense of the word. Things that I grew up around. I grew up, you know, in New York City, so Delancey Street, you know, Canal Street, all the fish markets. I mean, all of that stuff. That is what I really want to encapsulate and bring back to Denver, and no one has been able to do it. And I think there's just not enough deep pockets yet. You know, we need one of these dispensary guys to be like, yeah, screw all that, let's grow food. You know, it's never gonna happen. You know,
What are your favorite restaurants that we can go to and enjoy these kinds of unique foods?
You know, for me, when I look for restaurants these days, I kind of like to try to stick to the mom and pop kind of places or the one-offs. But then I'm the opposite when I want to drink beer. Yeah. So like for me, I like to go down to what is the name of that place? It's called Rebel Restaurant. It's across the street from the Coca-Cola plant. It used to be just this tiny little shack, and now they've made it into this wonderful, wonderful restaurant. I think it's like 32nd Avenue, out by the railroad.
So it's Highlands area?
Yeah, past the, in what do they call that, the Rhino?
Rhino.
Yeah, the Rhino neighborhood. And then, you know, for me, I go by a lot of what my friends say too. You know, I got a lot of friends who are still in the industry, and they're like, "Oh, meet me here for drinks, and we're gonna munch on this place and blah blah blah." So I really just kind of go by what other people are kind of searching around, and then I like some of the weird new places like, or I should say, some of the weird super old places here in Denver. So like McCoy's, I-70 and Federal, I swear it's one of the best places in town. Those guys rock it. And when I first went there, maybe about 15 years ago, when I first moved into the neighborhood, it was a dive. It was bad. I mean, you could walk in the place and be like, yeah, it just smells like we shouldn't eat here. And now it's one of my favorite restaurants. The chef that owns it now, incredible man. Fantastic food. And it's all just like good old-fashioned stuff, liver and onions and, fish and chips, so they really do understand the comfort food aspect. Then there's a soul food restaurant that's still open in Five Points. I think it's about 26th Street, because those are the streets in Denver there. So, there's quite a few places that are... What's that?
Was there a name for that?
Oh, man. Put me on the spot. I'm hard when it comes to names. I remember locations, and that's really how my brain works.
My last question, I know there's plenty of other questions, but, boy, this sounds, I mean, I see your passion, but the little cynic in me wonders, you go out and you forage something, and, or you're buying something that's been foraged, that turns out not to be safe.
Correct.
Who is liable for the mistake?
Generally, at that point, we're all liable for the mistake.
Everyone who's touched it?
Exactly, everyone who's touched it. And a lot of the people that I deal with in the foraging community, they know that. I mean, that they don't want to go and find something that's going to make someone sick. That's not what it's about.
Not about intention.
Yeah,
Things
yeah.
happen.
Exactly.
These are serious things.
Exactly.
Mushrooms are not to be messed with.
Exactly. And generally what I tell everyone is wash the mushrooms well and then use them immediately after. Pat them dry with a towel, then you can use them immediately after. But even though we don't have a huge issue with, what's it called? What is it?
E. coli.
E. coli, thank you. We don't have a whole huge problem with E. coli issues in the mountains, but when you get to places like out on the plains and things like that, E. coli can be an issue because water will sit and rot, things sit and rot. So that's where that all comes from. So yes, we're all liable for that as far as wanting to make sure that people don't get sick. And generally I'll eat stuff first. If I get sick, then we just throw it away. Which actually hasn't ever happened. Yes?
Can you give us an idea of one of your favorite dishes that you make with whatever your favorite forage might be?
One of my favorite meals, and the reason I love it is because it encapsulates a lot of what we do as a company. So we also roast chilies. It's just one of the things we do. We're chefs. We like fire. Ooh, fire! So we roast chilies, and it's become a really big part of the business. So we have folks who the fun part of Denver growing now are all these folks from different towns outside of where we are who are like, "What is green chili? Is it spicy? Oh my God, my face is on fire!" So it's different with those kind of folks. So what I do is I will make it easy for them to never even leave the booth. I tell them, get a bag of chilies, prep them, so then you're left with the fillets. You've got the triangle of yumminess there. Then I usually take a bit of mushrooms, some of the vegetables, chop it all up, saute everything, make what's called a picadillo, which is a filling, and you stuff them into the triangles. and then you put those in a baking dish, enchilada sauce on top, cheese on top, throw it in the oven. 45 minutes later, one of the best meals you'll ever have. If you can still eat sour cream, lucky for you, put the sour cream on there. I mean, it's probably one of the best things I've ever made since we've been doing the farmer's market. Yes.
Are all the chilies hot this year?
You know,
I've tried so many, even poblanos, and they're just like,
yeah,
hot.
this year was a particularly hot year. And because we got all that rain in the beginning, and then it was just like, that's how we got the super hot chilies this year. And you always have to watch the weather patterns to know how much your face is going to hurt. Because, yeah, even
My
the...
ears even
Yeah.
bled last night.
Yeah.
What are the least hot of the chilies?
You know, if you're lucky enough, if you're lucky enough to find Anaheim chilies at this time of year, those should be the least hot.
Okay.
But the one thing I remind people when they buy Pueblo chilies or New Mexican chilies, mild means just that. Mild hot chili. Not mild, not mild cotton candy. It's mild hot chili. I mean, it's still supposed to have some kind of bite, but it shouldn't make you see colors.
I have pretty good luck at the Mexican stores buying chilies because they bring in the ones that people are gonna buy.
Correct.
And they're really good.
Correct. And one of my favorite chili places when I was buying, before I was roasting chilies, there's a place on 52nd and Federal called the Chili Guys. And they have chili all year round, frozen stuff in the winter, really great chilies in the summer. And they'll let you try them before they will roast them for you. Or they'll roast them and then let you try them, either way you want. They're really great folks to buy from. Yes, ma'am.
What's your enchilada sauce that you use?
Enchilada sauce varies greatly from family to family. But
Like curry.
yeah, exactly like curry. But what I like to do is I will take your garlic, your onions, and all that stuff, and blend it up in a blender, and then I will either use just water or, depending on the meal I'm trying to make, maybe a chicken stock if it's going to be a chicken dish, beef stock if it's going to be a beef dish, and generally the enchilada sauce usually is one particular kind of chili, but since we're here in Colorado, we use whatever we get our hands on. Enchilada sauce is just the chilies with a dash of red chili powder in it to give it that color, and then you pour that over your food. Yes.
How much does the terroir or the earth that things grow in make a difference in the way they taste? Because I would guess that there's some difference in the foraged mountain food versus what you're growing in your towers. And what do you use to grow stuff in your towers?
So, as far as that goes, a lot. It's just like wine or winemaking. You can only grow particular vintages or particular grapes in this area. You can grow only this kind of grape in this area. And the real difference is, like the portobellos that I was talking about, here in the city you don't want to eat them because they will taste chemically, or they just kind of taste, they honestly taste like grass. They're supposed to grow on things like wood and dying vegetation. So then when you do find them in the mountains and you find them on a tree trunk or whatever and you cut it, you do get that earthy flavor out of the mushroom or whatever it is you're foraging. And then things like lettuces and tomatoes, cucumbers, those are all the standards that we do grow in the tower garden. But some of the weird stuff that we've grown that we've found, we grew a small stalk of amaranth in it, which amaranth you can actually find as close as across from Coors. The Coors plant, the Golden Cliffs there, there's amaranth, all kinds of weird stuff that grows up in there too. And I didn't know that it was, and I'm an avid climber, so I literally have been passing these plants for years and never knew that you could take them. I was always stuck on choke cherries, hey guys, hold it, hold my bag. I'm gonna get this chokecherry bush, and and it's kind of crazy.
And what do you do with choke cherries
Oh,
besides make jelly?
Yeah, I make jam. I make jam out of it, and there's also a recipe called peppermint that you could make that the first native
Oh, yeah.
folks were making.
pemmican.
Yeah, pemmican. Yeah. So I've made.
Choke cherry nectar we used to make, grind the seeds up
Uh-huh.
with the pulp,
Uh-huh.
and then you ferment it.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's
anything we know about fermenting.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm gonna try that.
It's really good.
Yeah, I haven't. I dabble in making things like wine and backyard stuff like that, but I haven't had enough choke cherries to be able to make anything that cool yet.
Oh,
So-
you should find them. I see them all the time. in the
Yeah, well,
market.
it's also time versus
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's my problem is I just don't have time to go and forage them. I wish I did. I used to be able to, but now that the business has gotten so large, it's gotten a little
Are there
harder.
huckleberries in Colorado?
No, huckleberry's super hard, super
In
hard.
Montana.
Yeah, Montana, exactly.
On nearby creeks, you gotta get down on your knees.
Yeah,
What's
they're
what's the berry in Oregon that's mostly there? Is it huckleberry?
Blackberries.
blackberries, Marion berries. I think are up there
Marion.
too.
Huckleberry.
Yeah,
I think it's huckleberry.
huckleberries. Is that
Huckleberry
what
are
they?
up
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
Oregon and.
They get a lot of cool
Washington
stuff that
State.
we don't get.
Yeah, well, they get rain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Or at least moisture off the
Right.
coast. We don't even have a coast.
We don't have
So-
rain either.
Yeah, we don't have any of that fun stuff.
All
So,
right, well, thank you so much. We sure
thank you
enjoyed
guys.
that.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Yes.
Would you pull up on your phone, your